welcome everybody back. This is David Zere. You're watching Breaking Point on Real America's Voice News. We're discussing the issues to make America free again. You know, we've got these mask mandates that are being lifted, but people are still wearing them. I don't know what's going on here, but Rebecca Costa is with us. She's a sociobiologist, a futurist, and an author, and we always rely on her for the best information. Rebecca, welcome back to the show.
Well, nice to be here, David.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, we were talking before you came on today, and, you know, the big issue is mask mandates. Were they ever necessary? And now that they're being lifted around the country, why is everybody still wearing them?
You know, the easiest analogy I can give is pollen. We're all familiar that in the springtime, right about now, when everything's blossoming, there's a lot more pollen in the air, and those of us like myself that suffer hay fever, really just, you know, we're sniffling and sneezing and whatnot. And the best way to think about our approach to masks was that we just wanted to put less pollen in the air, if you will. We just wanted fewer vapor drops that carried the virus to be in the air. Now, outdoors, you know, these are minuscule drops. Your chances, your odds, if you will, of running into a vapor droplet that is contaminated with the virus was very, very small to begin with. It would be like one microscopic particle in a national forest, right? Well, so unless you're an unlucky person, you're real likely not going to run into it. But in a closed space, the more people are inhaling and exhaling, the more droplets you have, and so the statistical probability goes up. So we can give masks. You don't have to be a scientist. You can just give masks the sniff test. Does it make logical sense that if there's more vapor droplets with the virus where I'm standing, the likelihood I would run into it is higher than where I'm outdoors, and the likelihood is I won't run into it? And that's the way we should have approached it, because everybody understands that when you go outdoors, more pollen when you're indoors. And so you start sneezing more when you're outdoors. There was just an easy way to explain this to people. And so it didn't cure the virus, but it did cut down on the number of vapor droplets and your probability of encounter.
I got to tell you, you know, kids were not transmitting this, and kids were not dying from the COVID. It was very, very small numbers. And I don't think they should have had to wear a mask for the last year in school. I think we've emotionally handicapped our children. There's mental anguish. We took away their senior years. We took away their activity. And I believe it was all unnecessary. I think it was a very evil thing. The teachers' unions and everything, it's just out of control. So, you know, where do we go from here? So, like, I'm in Home Depot the other day, and you don't need a mask. Texas lifted the mask mandate months ago. I spoke in an arena in Oklahoma 2 months ago to 4,000, 5,000 people. No one had a mask on. Nobody got sick. Nobody died. We're being lied to. Did we do irreversible damage to our population here?
I don't think so. I mean, whenever we start using words like irreversible damage, you know, it really has to be something that we don't recover from. And when you look out over human history, we're one of the most adaptable species that has ever walked the planet. In fact, the fact that we've risen to the top of the living pyramid is largely owed to our ability to adapt, our resiliency, if you will. So this idea that there are really going to be long-tail consequences that kids are going to suffer from this, I don't know. I mean, my kids have, you know, broken legs and, you know, from sports injuries and suffered all kinds of trauma in their life, and they're full grown now. They seem to have managed okay. I wouldn't count the human race out. We're not, you know, this woke movement, which I am completely against, by the way, as a scientist, as a social scientist, I'm against it. It has painted us as this fragile, you know, somebody tells an off-colored joke, or we miss our graduation, suddenly we're going to crawl into the fetal position and fold. We're not a fragile little species.
Well, so let me ask you about Now they're saying they want to give a COVID booster every 6 months. Is that going to be mandatory? Are you not going to be able to get on a plane to travel domestically or leave your state without a vaccine passport? Because they're doing it in Oregon and California and New York already, and people are just going to roll over like sheep. Isn't that coming?
I don't think that we'll get to that point. I do think there are some collective community advantages for people to get vaccinated. But I do think you have to look at it by population by population. If you're older and you're past reproductive age, then your immune system is already compromised. And so, your odds of being able to survive a virus like this, if you're older and you have a compromised immune system and you have some underlying condition, are not that great. Now, having said that, our treatments have gotten so much better. You see our death rates coming down. And we may be thinking that those death rates coming down means the end of the virus, but it also could be that our treatments have gotten so much better that we don't die from it anymore. So there's a lot of data out there, a lot of unknowns.
Well, only 60% of the population has received at least one shot. And these numbers were going down before that. I think the vaccine has helped. But, we're at like 5 deaths per state per day from COVID. It's like really low. 7,000 people die a day in this country from other things. I just hope that, like here in New York, I've watched people being devastated. They've lost everything. They've lost their businesses. Their suicide rate is up. If you go to my local hospital here, there's 7 or 8 cases every day of like teenagers who tried to kill themselves. That's gone up exponentially. I just hope we can get out of this all right. So tell us, Rebecca, what else is a hot issue? We got like 2-3 minutes left. What else you got going on today?
Well, I want to go to your point because you made a point of what's the long tail consequence. And I was making the point that we're not a fragile little species that folds, under extreme circumstances. But there is a study out of Europe that was done over 85 years that shows that any prolonged period of involuntary unemployment can lower your ability to be happy for the rest of your life. And that should be a grave concern right now, because that is a long tail that has been demonstrated by Nobel-winning economists who have studied long periods of forced unemployment.
Well, if these kids don't want to go out and don't have the motivation or the incentive to go out and for the rugged individualism that made this country great, you have to go out and fail 9 out of 10 times before you make it, all the risk taking. I don't see anybody pushing that, at least on the Democratic side, say, listen, this is a great country. We're built on small business. We have 30 million small businesses. I've only seen Trump say that. Even their GOP, I don't see that message.
My dad used to call it grit.
Yeah, grit, right?
Anytime I'd come home and I'd be upset over a failure or someone didn't like me or whatever, he'd say, you better get some grit.
Yeah, stick-to-itiveness, right? So, I just hope that we can regain that. And listen, if things go south on the economy, I think we will regain that because people are going to have to become ingenuitive to make things happen again. So what do you see? Do you think the economy is going to stay okay for a while? This hyperinflation issue, does it go away?
I'm very worried about hyperinflation because remember, that's always a lever that the government can pull in order to lower the debt. Relatively speaking, it's the quickest way to downsize the debt that we owe when the value of money goes down. And I've been worried for many, many years as a futurist, not an economist, but you can kind of see the dominoes lining up, if you will. And we can see that hyperinflation is really a way to lower the percentage debt we have.
Well, I would like to talk to you more in the future also about like the job markets going forward, 20, 30 years. What percentage will be automated? Andrew Yang's throwing around this universal basic income, which I don't agree with. But are we going to have enough jobs, in 20, 30, 40 years?
Well, we're certainly going to need some kind of a realistic, pragmatic transitional program, because this idea that you've been, digging in a coal mine and you're suddenly going to become an IT manager is just lunacy.
Right. No, I understand. Well, listen, Rebecca Costa, I value what you say. It's real keen insight, and we're all worried about what's going on, but I think there's a bright future to a degree. We just got to take back our government, and the government gravitas on the local, state, and national level, and this pension system and the municipal unions control this country, and they're outpacing income 2.5 to 1 over the private sector when you include their benefits as an average. So I'm worried about that ever increasing government.
Well, David, you and I are going to have to get together again because I live right outside of Portland.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you know what's happened to Portland for over a year now.
Oh, yeah, and look what a mess they've created. So let's see.
We are the petri dish for everything that could go wrong. Gun murders up 800%, still rioting in the street. The businesses downtown have all closed because they had to replace their windows every weekend.
Why don't the people care enough to take back their government? It's crazy. Rebecca, we're out of time, but I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have you back soon, okay?
Well, thank you, David. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much, and happy Memorial Day weekend to you and your family.
Same to you.
All right, everybody. Rebecca Costa, sociobiologist, futurist, author. Listen, she's analyzing what's going on inflation, our economy, the job markets, everything. She covers a wide gamut. So, everybody, I want to thank you for joining us today at Real America's Voice News. My name is David Zere, and we are getting the most hard-hitting information to you, the American public. We're trying to take back our country, bring back the rugged individualists that made this country great, and we are standing up for the guys who let their contractors out of their gates at 4 a.m. every day and have no representation. And a lot of times on the Republican side, too, these local state governments are out of control, expanding their power, punishing people with higher insurance rates, higher workers' comp. There's Medicaid fraud everywhere. So listen, we'll be back next week, and have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we're going to keep bringing you the facts. This is Dave Zere. Thank you.